The Biden health issue cover-up. Well, somebody's gonna start blowing. Well, California Democrats are accusing Kamala Harris, not just California Democrats, a lot of people are starting to blow the whistle. We got a couple of tell-all books out, and people are starting to tell all. The Congressional Oversight Committee has subpoenaed 3 staffers, one of them being Jill Biden's aide, and they want to know what they knew, when they knew it, how they knew it. There's no way you can convince me that Jill Biden didn't recognize her own husband was having major cognitive issues. She didn't know that he had prostate cancer? Kamala Harris didn't know anything about the cognitive issues, the health issues? It amazes me that they would rather have a half-brain dead, terminally ill, old white man sit and be the president as opposed to removing him from office and allowing the vice president to step up and be the president. That says a lot about their confidence in Kamala Harris as a candidate. And as everybody in the Democratic Party and the left-wing media and the left-leaning nonpartisans lick their battle wounds from the last election, they really aren't convinced that Kamala Harris just isn't a good candidate. The fact that they would rather have a zombie stay as the president than to remove him from office, which they had every right to do, and allow her to step up and be the president. They wanted her to be the president so bad. Kamala. It's Kamala. Kamala Harris. Kamala. They wanted her to be the president so bad. Well, they wanted her to have an easy layup. She could have had an easy layup in the first term. But they did what they do. They overplayed their hand. They got too caught up in the idea of puppeteering Joe Biden. And now, I don't blame Joe Biden because he's old, he's cognitively impaired, he has a potentially deadly form of cancer. And I think they totally took advantage of him, elder abuse, whatever you want to call it. They totally took advantage of him. And because he had these issues, you think foreign countries didn't know? Foreign adversaries didn't know what was going on? Of course they knew. That could be why we had some of these wars. That could have been why some of these countries let their prisoners out of prison and told them to hit the road, Jack, go up to America, and don't you come back. Could have been why they opened up some of their insane asylums, their orphanages, and sent them on up to America. America became the world's dumping ground during the Biden administration. But the fact that they would rather have a zombie puppet sit in the president's chair as opposed to putting Kamala Harris in says a lot about her. And it says a lot about the Democratic Party leadership, because there's no way in the world that elected officials did not know what was going on. Staffers did not know what was going on. And with all the pardons that came out, people were probably writing themselves pardons using the auto pen. Yeah, let me pardon myself. Where's that auto pen? Anyway, this Newsweek article, California Democrats accuse Kamala Harris of covering up Biden's decline. Well, as the governor's race is going to start heating up, there's going to be a lot of heat that Kamala Harris is going to have to take, and a lot of things that she's going to have to answer for. Democratic California gubernatorial candidate has accused former Vice President Kamala Harris and former Secretary of Health and Human Services Xavier Becerra of being involved in an alleged cover-up of former President Joe Biden's health. Wow, really? They didn't know. Biden's age and health became major concerns for voters during the 2024 presidential election, particularly after a widely panned debate performance against Donald Trump in June, where he said he beat Medicare, and then Donald Trump said, yeah, you beat it to death. That was my favorite part. Oh, and eating the cats and eating the dogs. That was my favorite part of that debate. So the Biden White House's transparency about his health has come under further scrutiny following the release of a new book by Jake Tapper, Original Sin, President Biden's Declines, His Cover-Up, and His Disastrous Choice to Run Again. It wasn't just his choice to run. First of all, Jake Tapper, nice try. You were covering it up, too. It wasn't just his choice to run again. It was the fact that, because you have to think he's cognitively impaired, so he thinks that he can do it. But the people that were around him should have said, no, honey, you can't do it. And we're going to have to use this clause in the Constitution to go on and sit you out. Thank you for your service, but bye-bye. But they didn't do that. They didn't do that. Concerns about whether administration officials engage in a cover-up of Biden's health have already become a question in California's gubernatorial race. Harris has not said whether she plans to run. She may as well forget about it. Forget about it. She may as well forget about it. You know what, people? Save your donation money. Just save your money, forget about it. Just save your money. Okay? There's no way in the world. What they've done to the American people and to America is so treacherous. They're traitors. You sat there knowing this man was cognitively inclined and in poor health, and instead of you letting the vice president step in, that's why we have a vice president, you sat there, you manipulated this old man, you puppeteered this old man, you pushed all these radical policies, left our border wide open, costing America billions of dollars, not just from the humanitarian aid that these people coming up in here needed, but also all the money that it costs to adjudicate these cases through the federal court systems, the strain that it had on the American people's local governments. The fact that Biden was in this condition, it could have been a catalyst to some of these conflicts that broke off in other parts of the world, because they figured, this guy, he's asleep at the wheel. We can go on and pounce and basically do whatever we want, because the president of the United States is basically is messed up. They've caused so much harm on the American people, pushing all these crazy agendas. And it's really sick and sad. And it's sick that Kamala Harris would go along with it. It really is. You had to have known what was going on. And, I wouldn't trust her to support her or vote for her for any political office. You didn't even have the guts to stand up for America. You didn't even have the guts to stand up for yourself and your own ambitions. You wanted to be the president. That was your time to do it, honey. So the article goes on to read Antonio Villagrasa, a former Democratic mayor of Los Angeles who is also running, is demanding answers from the two about what they knew about Biden's health while serving in his administration. A lot of people are tippy-toeing. They want to be careful with their words. They want to be careful what they have to say or what they accuse people of. But I think that if we're honest with ourselves, we will recognize and realize that this is the biggest, most corrupt political scandal that this country has ever seen. So Kamala Harris, you may as well go find something else to do. Your career in politics is done. Your career in politics is done. And people would be a fool to vote for her and a fool to give even a penny to her to any campaign, presidential campaign, governor campaign. You would be silly to do that. Because I can't imagine voters trusting her enough to put her back in any political office. Really. And people, instead of tippy-toeing around things, they need to call it what it is. It was a cover-up, it was a crime, it was a scandal, and it was wrong.
She was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
She has always identified as a black woman. She went to a historically black college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn and she became a black person.
Just to be clear, sir,